Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 21 of Ultimate Exotics, the review series of course for the very top tier supercars that are currently available on Gran Turismo's lineup. And in this episode we're featuring what is, from what I've seen anyway, one of the most popular choices of supercar currently on the game. Certainly one of the most popular, if not the most popular, German supercars that are on the game. Now it's based, as you can pretty much tell from the look, on a Porsche 911, and the car is of course the RUF CTR2. Now this car was built to be the successor to what is arguably RUF's most famous model, the CTR, nicknamed the YellowBird, which I believe, if I remember correctly, was one of the quickest, if not the quickest, cars of its time. Ironically though, the CTR2, considering it's its successor, shares very little in common with the YellowBird. Apart from the fact that it is based on a 911, it doesn't really share anything else in common. The way it approaches its visual design is completely different, the YellowBird being relatively understated, whereas this car is very flashy and has lots of custom bodywork. The YellowBird is rear-engine, rear-wheel drive. This car is rear-engine, all-wheel drive. The YellowBird is very raw and old school, whereas this car does a lot of the work for you, thanks to that all-wheel drive and also thanks to the advanced tech of the 993 series 911 compared to the older shaped YellowBird. Overall though, they are completely different machines. The YellowBird is much more of an old school professional driving machine, whereas the CTR2 almost drives more like a tuner car. And, I mean, technically it is a tuner car, but I'm talking a Japanese tuner car. It's kind of like the German equivalent almost of a GTR. Not that that's a bad thing. Now, Porsches are known for being pretty rapid, to say the least. So this car isn't going to surprise anyone by being fast. It is by far the quickest RUF available in the game, and it's actually been, in every Gran Turismo game that it's been featured on, which is pretty much all of them, one of the quickest cars in the game. Especially on the older Gran Turismo games, because now there's so much competition, whereas back then there was hardly anything to challenge this car. Now this car's main rivals, I would say, would be pretty much anything with all-wheel drive and around 1,000 horsepower, which you would think would open up to a lot of opposition, but not really. There aren't all that many that fit both of those criteria. What about its performance? Because being a Porsche-based vehicle could lend it towards having tricky handling, to say the least, because of that rear-engine layout. Even with the all-wheel drive, that means that the weight displacement is all weird, it's the opposite to what you're used to, and to some extent that is true. It does have certain distinct advantages and disadvantages putting the engine behind the rear axle. The main advantage, I would say, is traction, especially when you launch off the line, because obviously having the engine at the back means you've got all the weight at the back, and when you're launching, all of the weight is transferred to the rear wheels, so having the engine there already gives you all that weight to ground those tyres and give you a massive launch off the line, to be honest, regardless of all-wheel drive. So the fact that it has all-wheel drive just makes it even quicker. But the disadvantage of putting the engine at the back is the weight balance. It makes the car a little bit unpredictable. Having a relatively light front end, even with the all-wheel drive, means that the car's characteristics can kind of change mid-corner sometimes. And although that tends to be the case mainly in much higher speed corners, it is something to bear in mind in the lower speed corners as well, depending on how you set the car up. Overall though, it's a far more forgiving car than any of the other RUFs in the game, being the only all-wheel drive RUF. It really feels, as I said earlier, like a GTR in that it does a lot of the work for you, especially considering how much power it's dealing with. The 3.6 litre flat or boxer engine, which is turbocharged in this car, puts out just over 960 horsepower, almost 850 pound-feet of torque, both of which are incredible numbers for a relatively small engine. And being a Porsche, it's also very light, weighing in at just under 1,200 kilos. Thanks to that, it puts out over 800 horsepower per tonne and sits at a PP level which is something akin to an old school GT1 car, being around 640 PP. Now, at just under 300,000 credits, it is one of the more affordable supercars in the game. But as far as who I would recommend it for, I would say someone who's looking for something different. Its drivetrain is almost completely unique on Gran Turismo, if not unique, being rear engine all-wheel drive, and its performance, although requiring a little bit more experience and skill to get the best out of, is certainly a fantastic alternative to almost any of the other supercars on the game. So, that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.